like a Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the much anticipated, probably our most anticipated episode yet.
I would
the
say
Presto
so.
Podcast.
I would say so.
Our official top 10. Listen, we put a lot of man hours into this, okay? We didn't
That
mess
we did.
around here.
Right.
We didn't mess up. We didn't make any mistakes at all, especially in terms of players on the team.
Right.
We're going to start things off. We're going to kick it off with a blue blood.
We're going to get right into it.
The bluest of bloods. Well, maybe second bluest of bloods.
No, probably the Blues.
The bluest? Duke.
The Duke Blue Devils are coming in at number 10 in our top 10.
Yep.
Under Coach K, team who it's going to be a shaky year for Duke in my opinion because look, they have good players. That's nothing new. But do they have that go-to guy like they typically have?
Well, what usually develops with these Duke teams, and I think it'll happen again this year, they get a couple recruits in. I don't think Wendell Moore is the go-to guy. There's some talks that he's going to take a huge step up year two. But out of all the recruits they have, out of all the second-year players they have, someone's going to emerge. There's going to be a couple players who emerge, prove that they're the best players in the team. And if they don't, then Duke's going to disappoint.
Right.
And, is it going to be Wendell Moore stepping up, taking reins of the offense, or
Maybe even Matthew Hurt,
Yeah.
guy who started last year for the most part. And wasn't bad, but they're hoping he provides a lot more this season. And then the big question is going to come, how
WAP.
good... What'd you say? Go
I
ahead.
said WAP. Okay, give me a second here. WAP. Where are the point guards?
Right.
In Duke.
Exactly
Trey
what I
Jones
was
is
gonna
gone. Trey Jones was terrific last
Trey
year.
Jones was phenomenal.
He was honestly a top 5 player in the country last year,
Yeah.
in my opinion. He was terrific, led that offense, led
Won
that
the
team.
ACC Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And now the question is, this year, do they turn to Jordan Goldwire or do they turn to Jeremy Roach?
A Roach kid they just brought in? Or they
Yeah, Roach, I believe they just brought in.
Goldwire's
Goldwire
been there a
played
couple
sporadic
years, right?
minutes for the past few years.
Yeah. Maybe they do something weird where they just, put somebody
Yeah.
different in. Maybe they go a little bit bigger than normal.
Right.
But typically you don't see college teams
You
do
saw
that.
them-
Doubt Duke does it.
They were supposed to be down in Atlantis, I believe, playing. That got moved up to South Dakota.
Yeah,
They pulled out of that right away.
As soon as Coach K heard it was above like the 34th parallel line,
Right.
he was out of there. He said,
And so the question's going to
Now.
be,
he said now.
how's Duke's strength of schedule going to look this year?
It's gonna be unusually low, because typically it's they're battling it out in the ACC. The ACC wins aren't gonna matter that much this year, especially if you beat Syracuse at home, it's not necessarily a good win.
Right.
It's just another win.
It's just a
on your
win.
schedule.
It's a game you're supposed to win.
And it's going to be a lot of games they're supposed to win. Duke typically, there are some games where the freshmen and the sophomores fumble the bag.
Yeah.
They don't take care of business.
Right.
And if they don't have the chances to get these quality wins, it might be a little bit shaky for Duke in terms of, solidifying themselves as a 1-2 seed.
Right.
Why we have them probably being a 3-4.
Yeah. But I'm interested to see how well Jalen Johnson does in his freshman year.
Yeah.
Superstar, top
Sky's
5
the
recruit.
limit. Top
Sky's
5
the limit,
recruit.
exactly. DJ Stewart, also another freshman.
Yep.
He'll get some good minutes.
Yeah, a good recruiting class.
It's going to be a team it's going to be a Duke basketball team. You'll enjoy watching them because they'll be good.
Yeah,
But
fun freshmen.
will they be as good as? Will they live up to Duke basketball standards? That's what we'll wait and see.
I don't know. They still have Jack White.
I don't think so. I think he graduated.
Jack White graduated? Man, you're right.
I'll never forget when Jack White. God bless your soul, Jack White. Thank you for winning Syracuse that game a few years ago, where he went 0 for 10 from 3. Syracuse beat number 1 Duke on the road.
But
Tyus Battle put him on the floor 3 times.
back to my point, they lost Vernon Carey Jr., who was a solid.
Yeah, they're replacing him with Mark Williams, who's a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar finalist, preseason finalist.
Finalist, yeah.
Look, I haven't watched a ton of tape on him, but I've heard he's pretty good.
Yeah, obviously, if he's getting that kind of recognition this early,
Yeah.
and I just don't know if Duke is going to get those quality wins they get every year.
Right.
It's going to be hard for them to get a 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
We have them top 10 in the country, I think, because of what they're going to look like around March.
Right.
I think by then Jalen Johnson will have solidified himself
Yeah,
the best player
I
in the
think
team.
we've taken the next step, for sure.
And a team you definitely don't want to see
Right.
come March. But
Right.
early on in the season, you might catch him by surprise.
Exactly. Now up to number 9.
Less blue, but still a blood. the Jayhawks down in Kansas.
Yep.
Bill Self and his boys, they're gonna get it
You
done. as
mean
always.
the boys in his basement or the other boys?
Maybe. I mean, they found the kids in his basement. They just threw the charges down on his assistant coach.
Like, Bill Self does something wrong. Oh, it was his fault. Put him in the basement. But he's still there. They're still the prominent program in the Big 12.
I think the reason they're so good because they have like 90 assistant coaches.
Probably.
90 athletic trainers.
But
like 8 athletic directors.
I know you're hoping the reason they're really good this year is because of who I think, based on the way you talk about him, might be your favorite player on the team in the country.
He could be because of how much I value individual defense.
Marcus Garrett.
Marcus Garrett is the best defender in the conference. I think he's the best defender in terms of wing position in all of college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to guys about, ask any player out of the Big 12 who their least favorite player was to go against. They're going to tell you Marcus Garrett.
Yep.
Because of just, he's almost like a Kawhi-like defender. He's not going to like get in your jaw. He's not going to like be reaching in a ton.
Right.
He's just a solid defender. He won't bite at pump fakes.
Exactly. He basically gives guys fits.
And he commands this defense to being as good as they are. He was great last year in big games.
Yep.
They were pretty good in a lot of big situations.
Yeah, and they're really good on the road.
Oh, and they're really good on the road, and teams really just don't win in Kansas.
Right.
How
Allen
do they
Fieldhouse.
lose?
Allen Fieldhouse, one of the toughest places to win. But
Yeah, last year they got sunned by Baylor a little bit. I
They
think
did.
they split the season series.
yeah, but then at the end of the year, remember, Kansas just absolutely took
Yeah.
over, finished 15-1 in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They were 31-3 or something like that. 28-3 maybe.
Bill Self might as well be Thanos at this point. He's inevitable.
They were.
He's inevitable.
But here's the thing: they're losing Izabuki, who's really good center, maybe the best big man in the country. They're
He
losing
was
Devon
last
Dotson.
year.
Losing Devon Dotson, who is
The better
super,
Dotson brother.
super talented. Probably has an NBA future ahead
Oh,
of him.
he's an NBA sleeper for sure.
But Bryce Thompson, we're gonna see what he's got because he might step right into the starting role.
He's been
It
getting
might take
some
him a
love.
little bit.
Been getting some love by
Yeah,
Bill Self.
I've seen Bill Self is really high on him.
And compliments are hard to come by.
Yeah,
From
Bill
Bill
Self.
Self.
Right.
But it's a Kansas team that
I think if they can increase their bench production, they could be the best team in the country again.
yeah, they're not super deep.
Right.
Which
Never
is-
a team was super deep.
And especially this year.
Right.
because
Especially this year.
in terms of even depth in their starting five, I mean, I just don't know if they have the starting five to go combat Baylor, who has
Exactly.
that solidified starting five.
Yep.
And I think every team above them has a go-to at least 5 guys in their roster, or at least a go-to guy. And offensively, Kansas doesn't necessarily have that.
Right.
It's going to be a bit of a struggle to find buckets, but they play good teams extremely well.
Right.
It's us betting on the system of Kansas
Exactly.
and how hard it is to win there and just what it means to play against Kansas.
Right. Now we move up to number 8. A group who a lot of question marks around them. The Iowa Hawkeyes. And the first thing I have written down here is, has Iowa ever played defense?
No.
And the answer is no.
No, they don't. They don't
And
play
it's simply
defense.
just a group of white boys, white basketball players, who go out there and try and outscore the other team.
Again, we hate to be
They say-
stereotypical here.
They say, all right, well, you guys can have a 2. We'll take a 3 at the other end. And Luka Garza is he the best player in the country this year?
Yes. It's to the point where you don't even know who number 2 is because
Right.
this kid is that
But he's a
special.
guy who you can look at it and say he's not an NBA player and he might not make the NBA.
It doesn't
But
matter.
he fits
Because-
perfectly into a college system.
God, and he fits perfectly into their system,
Right.
especially. They
just-
got 4 guys who can get on the ball,
Exactly.
who won't play defense in the other end. They'll just kind of watch Luka not play defense either.
Right.
They don't have a leader defensively, which scares me because I think even if you're a bad defensive team, if you have one guy, if you have one junkyard dog on defense, he
Exactly.
can pump you up.
And they're bringing back their whole starting 5.
Yeah, and on one hand, you're like, man, they're bringing back their whole starting 5. They have the best player in the country. That looks extremely good. How are they not even favored in the
Right.
Big Ten? It's because, 1, they don't play defense, and 2, they were not that good last year. And I think the lack of a March Madness tournament
Right.
really puts a question mark on the team.
Yeah. It's just a case of a team who was surging towards the end of the season, playing really good basketball, but are just unproven in March.
I'm scared they're going to get out-coached and out-systemed in
Right.
the Big Ten.
And, it's a team who, if they have a bad shooting day, could lose to anybody because of their lack of defensive prowess.
It's a tough team to put all your eggs in the basket on.
Right.
Obviously, the ceiling on it is you have the best player in college basketball and shooters around them, shot creators around them, can create shots for themselves and for Luka. You can't double team them ever because they have shooters out on the floor.
Right. It's just everybody can shoot, and they all buy into the system. Oof.
Yep. But what scares you about the Hawkeyes is especially how badly they match up to some of the top tier Big Ten teams.
Right.
I think they played Rutgers pretty well last year, but a team we have up here higher. Again, can't spoil the rankings for you, but we can talk about that matchup in a little bit.
Yep.
And now we will move on to
Tennessee,
Volunteers.
number 7. Under coach Rick Barnes, who's one of my favorite coaches in the country. The Volunteers will look to run the SEC this year, and they have the chance to.
Yeah.
Jaden Springer's super talented. And obviously your guy, Yves Pons.
Best Pons. Another guy I'm super high on because
Super fun to watch.
great
Plays
defender,
great defense.
awesome athlete,
Yep,
a spark plug.
exactly.
Just loves every second out there. Going to be engaged all 40 minutes. He's going to play all 40 minutes because Barnes likes to play his guys.
Yeah.
And I think it might even be a selling point. And the selling points, it doesn't seem to me like Tennessee is like a super exciting place to play for me if I'm a prospect.
Yeah.
But apparently it is. They had the number 4 recruiting class in the country out of nowhere. Nobody in the world saw it coming. And then all of a sudden everybody said, I want to play for Rick Barnes down in Knoxville.
The best way you can put it is Tennessee goes out every night and controls the pace of the game. And if they control the pace of the game, they're extremely successful. And if that doesn't happen, they're not going to win. Because they play their way or they don't play well at all.
Yeah, in a grit and grind SEC, they're the grittiest and the grindiest in terms of just how mean some of the guys in the roster are.
And with one of my favorite guys, John Fulkerson, in the middle. It's going to be a fun year for Volunteer fans, and they should be excited.
Yep. You should be excited for years to come, too, because, they had the 4th best recruiting class. Not a lot of these guys are going pro, in my opinion. Yeah. It's going to be a system. It's going to be another few years of dominance for Tennessee, which kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't see this coming along. If you told me, 4 years ago that Tennessee would be barely losing in overtime to Purdue last year, and all of a sudden the next couple of years they're on top of the SEC, I'd say you're crazy because of how good Kentucky was.
Yep.
But all credit to Rick Barnes for building up this system and, creating a super prestigious college destination.
Right.
It's program building for you.
Now we go up to number 6.
Probably the best program
Blue
builder.
Blood.
The greatest program builder in college basketball history. Because, God, what he's done here in Kentucky, in Lexington, it's unfathomable how many NBA players he's had. Yep. And I think he's got a couple on his team this year that are looking to make a splash. Highlighted by B.J. Boston, who I am super, super high on.
Yeah.
In terms of, he's almost like an athletic Tyler Hero.
Right.
He plays the game smooth, smart, but he's also an athlete.
Right.
Go up, dunk the ball.
John Calipari's Kentucky Wildcats. Look, B.J. Boston, you're right. He's going to be a superstar. Terrence Clark, potentially be a superstar. But this year, it seems the one thing that they might be missing, which they usually typically have just about one of, is that one solidified guy who comes back for another year at Kentucky. Yeah. And look, they're bringing back Keon Brooks, who played an okay amount, but he was no typical returner for Kentucky.
Right.
He played maybe 20, 25 minutes a game, if that. But he's a talented player. We know that. He's a Kentucky basketball player.
Yep. It doesn't have exactly a returner here, but Oliver Sarr out of Wake Forest.
Olivier Sarr from Wake Forest, who is actually very talented. He's a grad transfer, I believe. Is he, or is he? Maybe he might have gotten his waiver. He might have 2 years left.
Hopefully, he doesn't bring any of that Wake Forest funk to the team because PU. But it's a Kentucky team that Calipari knows how to win with.
Yeah.
The past few years have been a little bit off, I think.
Yep.
ever since the deer and fox season. I don't think Kentucky's been the same.
Right.
But this year, they are probably I'd say probably the second, maybe third most surefire number 1 seed. If you were to say who's going to be a 1 seed come March, you say Kentucky.
Yep.
Because you bet on what Calipari does to get those guys to kind of boost their draft stock, but also dominate at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
It's something that almost nobody else in the game has as good a balance on. Calipari's always asked the question, what do you value more, national championships or getting a guy drafted in the top 5? Never gives an answer because he can do both.
Right.
And I think it's a situation that could happen this year.
Yep, and we're going to see Isaiah Jackson, who's going to be really talented, I think. Wish he came to Syracuse.
Great athlete.
Do that.
A little underdeveloped, but
Yeah.
that's what Calipari's supposed to do, right?
And then their point guard will probably be Devin Askew, another freshman.
Yeah.
He's talented, but hopefully he can pick up the slack where Ashton Hagans, Emmanuel Quickly, guys like that.
Yeah, they were great last
They
year.
were really good last year.
Floor spacing should be a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
But just in terms of high-end talent, and you talk about the stars, the blue chippers, who you want to go to battle with. There's a reason these guys are ranked as highly as they were.
Right.
And look out for Kentucky.
Yep.
Another team to look out for.
Now up into our top 5.
Oh, top 5.
Another team to look out for. You're absolutely right. A team who, year after year, seems their roster's okay at best.
Yeah, there you go, man.
But then all of a sudden they're just top 5 in the country. They're winning the ACC. And that's the Who's. The Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah, it's almost surprising when you look at the standings and you're like, Virginia's a 17 team in the country, and when did that happen?
Right.
But I think this is Virginia's conference now.
Yeah.
It's
been Virginia running the conference for probably the last 4 years, I'd say 3 years.
Well, when was the one?
They won. Well. So here's how we'll say it.
Timeline.
3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 seasons ago. It's 2018 March Madness.
Right.
Virginia, number 1 overall seed.
Screws up everybody's bracket in the world.
Everybody's bracket up. Shocks
God.
tons of people. Loses to UMBC. A game which will forever be embedded in history. The first time a 16 ever beat a 1.
I will say, though, could there be a more perfect game? It was one of the most fun college basketball games of all time.
And look,
they battled back. They won the national championship.
They won the national championship.
The
next year, I will never forget it. I'm sitting in front of the TV. It's the first half. DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, they're out there. They're down 15 in the first half.
Gardner-Webb, right?
To Gardner-Webb.
Gardner-Webb.
They're down 15 in the first half as a 1 seed again, and I'm just sitting there thinking, no way these guys are about to lose again.
And then the questions start up in your mind. You go,
exactly.
Is Tony Bennett really that good?
Right.
What do we make of this?
And from that moment, they just flipped the switch. And look, you could say they got a little lucky beating Auburn in the Final Four. A foul call and a 3 right at the end of the game. Questionable call, maybe a good call. And then they won in overtime. DeAndre Hunter hits a huge shot in the national championship. And just like that, they go from losing to a 16 to being the national champs.
It's absolutely awesome to see what Virginia does to other teams. And now Virginia's not the most fun team to watch in terms of, they had the 4th overall pick a couple of years ago. Could you think of a more boring 4th overall pick than DeAndre Hunter?
Exactly.
No, you can't.
Exactly.
But what this team does is they will dominate your favorite team. They will beat your team's brains into the ground. It's almost unimaginable what they do to some really good teams.
Yep.
And it's just the defense. It's the intelligence. It's the opus maximus
exactly
of basketball.
And it's a team who they follow their defensive principles and they get the success they're looking for. Remember, 1 year ago today, what's today? We're filming this November 6th.
National Jersey Day.
Filming this November 6th. 1 year ago today, the Virginia Cavaliers come to the Carrier Dome for the first game of the season, hold Syracuse to 34 points.
It's one of those things where you're watching a game and you're going, man, how in the world do we score on this team?
Exactly.
How do
you score on that
scoring?
team?
How do we stop them from scoring?
And they won that game. I believe the score was 48-34.
It's what they do to teams.
Imagine it's that simple. They scored 48 points in a college basketball game, and won by double figures. And it's Virginia basketball.
Yep.
Low scoring, dominant.
In terms of getting smart shots on the other end,
Right.
Kihei Clark running the show.
Arguably the best pure point guard in the country.
No doubt in
Does
my
not
mind.
turn the ball over. Makes the occasional shot. Phenomenal passer.
He does what he needs to do in terms of
Right.
scoring for himself,
Yep.
but in terms of creating and getting open shots, and God, will this kid ever turn the point? Will he ever turn the ball over? No,
Right.
he won't.
Exactly. And it's a team with the front court this year of Jay Huff, who started last year, began to become a much better center. He's
Yeah,
really developing.
developed.
And now they
Mike
have
Jaxall for a while.
Sam Hauser. The better Hauser brother, no offense.
Sorry, Joey.
But
No, he's a
he
big
is super talented. And we saw it at Marquette when he was there. He's decided to make the switch to Virginia, and he could be that go-to guy in offense for them. Where if he scores 20 a game, 18 a game, then the rest of the guys will provide enough offensive production for them to be really successful.
Yeah, they're going to play close games. There's no team I'd rather have in a close game than Virginia this
Right.
year. And we're talking like everybody talked before that fateful tournament. But it's a team that I have no idea how they don't win the ACC.
Exactly.
No clue.
Yep.
All right. We got our jerk-off session about Virginia there. Got that out of the way. Now on to a team who you're a little bit higher on than...
I am extremely high on them because I'm a big fan of their coach and I'm a big fan of their star. Illinois.
Fighting Illinois.
Fighting
What an
Illini.
incredible name. As I say
Under
it
coach Brad Underwood. Ayo Dosunmu.
Ayo Dosunmu. We don't know how to say his name.
We don't know how to say it,
We'll know soon.
but we damn sure love to watch him ball.
He's
That kid is special.
Do you think he's the most fun player to watch in terms of like returners?
Yeah.
I don't know who's two.
His Jared Butler. Because of
Look at them.
his firepower, his intensity, and just the way he plays. Beautiful.
Last year was a great year for Ayo. And again, I scouted him a little bit for my mock draft. He ended up returning for senior year.
Yep.
What he did last year is he improved in every way you want him to. He's a smart point guard who's also built like one of the best athletes you're going to see out there.
Beautiful build to be he can really play the 1, the 2, or the 3.
Great speed, good wingspan, fights hard on both ends of the
Great
floor.
defender.
He's always locked in.
Increases his offensive production yearly.
You know, on the ball, he's going to have the ball a lot this year.
Yeah.
What he did great last year is everyone told him, hey, you got to shoot more threes. You want to be the point guard in the NBA, shoot more threes.
Right.
He did, but what he really improved upon, what I think his off-season training went into, was drawing contact at the rim.
Getting to the rim.
He ended up shooting 4 more free throws than he did last year.
Yeah.
4 more guaranteed points almost with his free throw stroke. It's awesome. Awesome player to watch.
Yeah. And they're bringing in a guy like Adam Miller who is going to have a big impact. He's going to be expected to hit shots. He's going to be expected to score.
Yeah, one of the few questions with them, because they have a lot of surefire guys.
Right.
They're
bringing back every starter on their team is back.
Yeah.
From last year. Now,
Adam Miller
Adam Miller probably will jump into the starting lineup. They'll have the question will be a power forward, but the point is, Kofi Cockburn, however you say it, he's a good center.
I think why I have them ranked higher than Iowa all over the place is because he owns Luka Garza.
Yeah.
Luka Garza just struggled against Kofi Cockburn.
Right.
You know why? Because he fights hard.
He's just as strong as him, and he's quicker.
He's almost like Ayo Dosunmu. They have the same mindset where they love these explosive plays.
Exactly.
You'll see a behind the back pass down low to Kofi Cockburn. He's going to try to bring down the rim.
Exactly.
He's got a little bit of that like awkward touch around the rim.
You remember seeing him
a lot of guys.
dunked it, turn around, and all hyped up, punches the ref.
God, yeah,
Phenomenal.
But he's like a spark plug center, but he's not traditional in the way that you think spark plug centers because he can be kind of like he's not a split carry sort of center. He's not a guy you play half the game. You might foul out. He's been a lot smarter. You know, all the talks I've heard is that he's not going to foul a lot of games this year, and hopefully he doesn't. Great shot blocker. He blocks the ball so hard. I wish he would I wish he would not block the ball that hard.
Yeah.
He's going to hurt somebody in the crowd. Dunks a lot around the rim. He can hit the mid-range jumper too.
Right.
He was sick last year.
The one question mark surrounding that team is what will happen when they get into a slow-paced half-court game, because that's where they struggle.
Yeah.
And we see a team like, say, Iowa, who Illinois is better than, and they will probably beat them, because if they can turn Iowa over, then Iowa's in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
Because Iowa doesn't play defense.
Team runs in the fast break.
Illinois is much more athletic. It's going to be a fun Big Ten, though. That's what we can say.
Oh yeah, going to be pretty competitive. We have Illinois up here because of what we think Ayo could do.
Right.
I think he's a top. He's the second best player in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Now we head up into the top three. Or three, in no specific order: Baylor, Villanova, Gonzaga. Three
Take your
teams.
guess right now. Let us know in the comments below what you think the order is going to be.
The best part about this: no team from the ACC, no Big Ten team, no Kentucky, no blue blood.
I'll
Three-
talk about that in a minute.
Three teams who are really fun to watch.
Three kind of, I don't want to say recent programs, but
Three
recently they've been on the come
talented
up.
programs. Great coaches.
Yeah, you want to start it off right now?
Yeah.
Right.
Number 3, the Villanova Wildcats under Coach Jay Wright, the Syracuse 2-3 zone killer, under senior point guard Colin Gillespie, as well as guys like Jermaine Samuels and Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
Jeremiah Robinson
It's
Earl
going to be a fun team.
He's a sneaky player.
Yeah.
When you think of who's going to be the player of the year.
Right.
Villanova has a lot in common with Gonzaga in the fact that you don't know who the best player is.
Right.
People talk about a lot of different players, kind of.
And they're losing Sadiq Bey, obviously, but Samuels and Robinson Earl are expected to just kind of together step into that role, take over what Sadiq Bey did for that team, and it could be another really good Villanova basketball year.
I don't know how Villanova doesn't win the Big East. I don't know how they don't win. Well, I don't know how many games they're playing this year.
Yeah, probably about 25, 27.
They play 25 games. I don't know how they lose more than 3.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they don't play the most competitive schedule. They're going to play Baylor here to start the year.
There's a chance. We don't know for sure, but they're going to be playing Boston College with a chance to play Baylor the next day on Thanksgiving, which would be a super fun one to watch.
Yep. Now, weird things to just note about Villanova. They didn't get a single recruit, but they did get someone I wanted to talk about a little bit. Caleb Daniels out of Tulane. He was part of the reason why Tulane was so awesome last year.
Tulane was okay. Tulsa was awesome.
I'm thinking of the wrong T team.
Tulane was not bad, though.
Caleb Daniels was their best player, and
Yeah,
by
he
far.
was by far the best player.
Looked at his stats.
So he might jump into a starting role this year. And
Look, there's a chance.
it's a Villanova team who I feel confidently that Jay Wright's the best coach in the country. Because year after year, what he does, no coaches do that. Because these schools are bringing in Duke, Kentucky. They're bringing in the best recruits. Jay Wright takes teams with no top recruits and makes them top teams in the country.
You look a couple of years ago, they had a big recruiting class they brought in. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but these players, they didn't fit well in his system.
Right.
It was almost like Jay Wright forgot who he was.
Javon Quinterly,
who
is now over at Alabama. But anyways, he was...
But he had a big
They
recruiting class.
were calling him like Jelly Q or something like that.
Gross. I don't like that name.
And he just didn't work out there. So he made his way out. Jay Wright accepted that. Jay Wright found new guys, and they're still the top program in the country.
Yeah, he doesn't get a ton of recruits, so it's just the stereotypical Villanova team.
Right.
That Colin Gillespie's up there, man. Colin Gillespie, great shot creator. A guy like, who was I talking about earlier? Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
Yeah.
Terrific role, big man.
Yep.
He can do a lot of stuff with the basketball in his hands.
Yeah.
He's an interesting draft prospect in that. Great at dribble handoffs, a good rebounder, good defender. And you talk about just... It's almost like the most perfect offense you could think of. It's almost like how we talked about Virginia earlier defensively. It's how I think we feel about, Villanova offensively.
Exactly.
They just get good looks all the time.
Exactly. Now up to number 2.
Top 2.
We'll say this. Besides the Syracuse Orange, this is my favorite team in the country to watch, to cheer for. I love the way they play, both ends. I love their roster, and I love their colors.
Good color scheme.
The Baylor Bears.
Nice work on their Baylor Bears. Now,
Coached by Scott Drew, who I really like in the Big 12.
Scott Drew's program building ability is insane.
Yep.
You remember when he got hired? When he got hired, like 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
There was like, the old coach got fired because he was. There was like a scandal revolving one of the players on the team being murdered.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yeah.
It was a terrible, terrible thing. It's insane to me. It's unfathomable almost that Baylor's on the map this quickly.
Right. And it's a
And on the
Baylor
map in a
team.
big way.
Yeah. 26-4 last year. And they were super hot. They were number one in the country
They were
for
one
a
of
really
the
long
country
time.
forever.
And their starting five last year, I'll read this to you. Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, Maceo Teague, Mark Vidal, Freddie Gillespie.
Yep.
Their starting five this year, Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, Maceo Teague, Mark Vitale, Tristan Clark. So Gillespie graduated. Clark was their sixth man, played 15 minutes a game. It's a team who has the system. They have the players back. They nearly proved themselves last year. Still haven't proven themselves in March. But they're ready to rock and roll this year.
No.
And they play the role
for sure.
They play the role of little brother to Kansas every year.
Yeah,
It's the way it goes.
How sad was
They're
it last
looking-
year when they lost to Kansas, man?
I still remember watching College Game Day. I'm all hyped up. Go Baylor. 12 o'clock tip. 11 o'clock their time over in Waco, Texas. And they got dogged.
They got it's
Score was a lot closer than the game was. Azubuike just controlled the game. Devon Dotson got what he wanted. But it's a Baylor team who
they're
should
way
win the
better.
Big 12.
They're way better than Kansas.
They should win the Big 12.
They're
because
much
they have
better than
4 starters back and their 6th man. Under their coach, they have Jared Butler back, who was, I believe, an AP all second or third team last
He's
year. Second team. One of him and Luka Garza are the only 2 players to make an all AP, all first, second, or third team last year in return. Big expectations for him. Maceo Teague, a phenomenal shooter.
Great.
Davion Mitchell, besides Marcus Garrett, I think he's probably the best on-ball defender in
Yeah.
the country.
That's what
Mark
especially
Vitale,
in that conference.
the energy he provides on defense, you can just hear it for the way I'm speaking about him. I'm so high on this Baylor team.
It's a team that it's almost like an AAU team that
Right.
just had the same roster like 8 years
Exactly.
in a row. They all know
Exactly.
each other. They play perfectly together.
The chemistry is off the charts. The talent is off the charts. The intensity on both ends of the floor is off the charts.
Yeah, they're consistent too. What I love to see from these
Right.
top tier teams. A lot of guys have the
Right.
talent. Not all of them do it night in, night out.
And they have Mitchell and Butler both bring the ball up the floor. Mark Vidal, unreal defender.
Ball handlers, great defenders. It's hard to find a hole in this roster.
Right.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
The only reason,
The
that
one
we
spot
have
you
them
look
at
is
2.
center.
The one spot you look is center, and there is not that guy who's center this year
Right.
in the Big 12.
Right. Obviously, McCormack for Kansas. He got some pretty good minutes last year, but he's no Azubuike.
No, yeah, and Azubuike dominated them last year, like he
Right.
did to a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's something that's just off their conscience. They don't even have to think about
Exactly.
that. They're playing, I think, a pretty proven schedule,
Yeah.
especially to start off
They'll-
non-conference.
Baylor Gonzaga. Wow, we're excited for that one. December 5th. Get the tapes out because that one's going to be a movie. I can tell you that much.
That's a fact. Now, wait a minute. We didn't mention Gonzaga. Why is
There
that,
it is.
Ty?
Number 1 in the country,
Number 1 team.
in our opinion, the Gonzaga Bulldogs.
Yep.
Under Coach Mark Few, playing in the West Coast Conference.
Yeah, the West Coast Conference.
And look, this is a team who we think is the most talented team in the country.
Here's the deal, okay? Here's the deal. They're not going to lose in conference.
Right.
They just won't.
Maybe they'll lose once to
St. Mary's blows
St.
this year.
Mary's.
Shout out to St.
Maybe
Mary's.
they'll
Not
lose to
good.
BYU. BYU will be okay this year.
Are they?
Because Harms committed there. Harms versus Drew Timme. Those will be some fun matchups to see. My guy Drew Timme, I really like watching him.
Yeah. Now,
Corey Kispert. He's a CBS Sports preseason top 5 player.
now, I think that's deserved in some sense.
Yeah.
He's
He's
really
proven
good
himself
shooter.
over the past 3 years at Gonzaga.
Best returner.
Right. And look, Joel Ayayi, their point guard.
Ooh.
I'm super high on him.
Yep.
Maybe he'll be playing a little 2-guard because this is one of my favorite recruits in the country, Jalen Suggs,
Super highly anticipated.
heading into Gonzaga. And it's going to be a really fun year, and Zags fans should be really excited.
Yeah. Losing Killian Tilly, losing Philippe Petrusev.
Right.
to any other team, it drops them back super far.
Exactly.
But this Gonzaga team they reload, man.
Right.
Like the New England Patriots, sort of.
And there's definitely some question marks to their non-conference schedule because we don't know what games are actually happening, what aren't.
What it looks like
we
right
know
now,
they have Baylor, and we know they have
they're
Iowa.
playing competitive. They're playing.
We know they have Baylor, and we know they have Iowa. Maybe Auburn. I'm not sure. I'm not certain on that. I'm not sure where that game would be taking place. But we know Gonzaga is going for it all this year.
Yep. Play a great offensive system. The defense, as always, is going to be where it needs to be.
Yep.
To kind of
this is a Gonzaga team who likely loses maximum 2 games in the regular season.
Yeah.
And then we look for a deep tournament run. Right.
They just don't lose.
Some teams hang around with them for like the first half, and then Gonzaga just turns up in the second half. It's that simple.
Yeah, you talk about other teams, struggling with putting away teams.
Right.
There's no team in the past couple seasons that has put away, big leads like Gonzaga, no matter who they're playing.
Exactly.
They put you down. They leave their starters in for the perfect amount of time. Mark Few deserves all the credit in the world for that.
Yep.
Even one of my favorite plays ever by Gonzaga was they were up by like 20 against Pepperdine, and Mark Few's running inbound plays,
right?
Like new sets, and it's something that you don't see from a lot of other teams.
Yeah.
Mark Few's got an incredible basketball mind.
Yep.
It pains me that we can't see him wearing, one of those comfortable polo T-shirts and some of these weird. Maybe he will. You think they're gonna?
I don't know. He seems to be one who. That isn't his style.
Not his style.
But
it reminds me so much of Terry Stotts for no reason.
He does. But
we already talked about the best offensive team in the country, best defensive team, best all-around team is Gonzaga by so much.
Right.
I'd put them like second best offense, maybe fifth best defense.
Right.
It's just they're going to dominate, and early on they're going to play some good teams. Hopefully, we're crossing our fingers that the Baylor game, that the Iowa game go through, because even if they lose those 2 games, they might not lose another.
Yep.
There's a reason everybody in the world has them ranked number 1 in the country, and we do too.
Yep. So there you have it. Our top 10.
Top 10. You want to just roll through it real quick?
Yeah, so
we'll roll through the whole top 25 we had.
Yeah. Start at 1. So we'll go Gonzaga, Baylor, Villanova, Illinois, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Iowa, Kansas, Duke, Arizona State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Oregon, Texas Tech, Creighton, North Carolina, Indiana, Houston, Florida State, Richmond, LSU, Cincinnati, UConn, and Rutgers.
All right, there's our top 25. It's
going
to change.
Hope you guys like it.
Going to change like a weekend because
probably
teams are going to lose. And
let us know what you think down in the comments.
Oh, another thing.
Watching on the YouTube.
Another thing. Check out our Twitter.
Yeah.
You want to plug the Twitter? You got a
Twitter
Twitter
is
for it?
the Press Zone Pod, run by yours truly. I'll be providing updates when we upload an episode. And maybe even like when we watch some games,
just live
we'll
tweets.
tap into the Twitter. Yeah.
Live tweets. Another thing, I'm gonna try to figure out a way to make an Instagram. Do I bother making a Facebook? Probably not.
No Facebook.
But I want to post this somewhere, our top 25 for the world to see. And for you gamblers out there, bet your whole inheritance on Gonzaga winning the national championship. No doubt in my mind.
Like and subscribe. Right. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week with our NBA mock draft.
Oh, yeah.
See you later.